Hey there, everybody. It's June, and you know what that means on the Bad Anime Podcast? Titties, basically. Yeah, we're going to talk about a different harem anime every single week this month. It's Harem Month. If you don't know what a harem anime is, it's when there's kind of a dude and he's surrounded by a bunch of waifus, essentially. So that it's going to be really silly. It damaged me a lot mentally this month, but I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for clicking on the show. Let us know what you think, and happy 4 weeks of Harem Month.
It's bad anime. Bruh.
Hey everybody, I am John.
And I am Rob.
And this is Bad Anime, the podcast where we decide, is this anime bad? Now, Rob, what anime are we talking about today?
Today's a big one.
Yes.
Today is an anime that,
Ooh.
when people mention bad anime, this one got thrown into the bunch a bit. However, in recent years, it's getting... I mentioned this before. It's getting a critical reevaluation where people are questioning their original takes. Today, we're doing the first season of High School DXD.
High School DXD.
Now, this
has been a long time coming.
This has been a long time coming because you and I have watched the first episode at least several times.
Yes.
Because when I first saw this, I thought to myself, wow, a lot of underwear, boobs, and I got to give the dub cast credit here. They came up with a lot of synonyms for boobs.
So many synonyms for boobs. I wrote a lot of them down because I was just genuinely excited to have more words for boobs.
Exactly. I think I've used all of them before, but even one or two surprised me. Like, oh, I never used that one before.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I made a drinking game out of it.
Yes.
So the High School DXD drinking game is when a bunch of us get in a room, we put on the first episode, and those are the rules. Whenever you saw underwear, you saw a boob jiggle, you saw a nipple, or a synonym for boobs. Those four things. And each time, I believed everyone would finish like 3 or 4 beers.
Keep in mind
20 minutes.
Keep in mind, I was going to say the first episode is 20 minutes of material only.
So we would basically be chugging beer the entire time. I remember one of our friends was gracious enough to have us out east, and we were in his home theater watching it on the big screen.
Oh my God.
The entire room was like, why are we doing this? I'm like, because beer.
And we've done this game so many times to the point where when we decided to do High School DXD and watch through the whole first season together, I didn't have to watch the first episode.
No, because you knew it. You know almost all the lines verbatim.
I could recite that episode by heart if I had to. That's how many times I've seen the episode. Red like the color of her hair.
There you go.
Blood.
Well, that's the thing, because whenever we heard like one person in the room hadn't seen it, the entire room would go, we gotta watch it.
We gotta see the thing. Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely like a legendary show in our friend group.
Yes.
But the exciting thing about this was we decided to do this because the good thing about it is that we haven't really... I mean, Rob, you've seen the whole show, I believe, up to this point. But
I've watched every season, yeah.
I've only seen maybe the first 1 or 2 episodes up to this point, possibly up to 3.
If we got up to 3, we would have been hammered. So
I probably didn't remember
If your
any of it.
memory is failing you on it, I completely understand, my friend.
And it did. Boy, did it. I watched the 3rd episode and I was like, I don't remember any of this happening. So all good things. And I also remember watching some episodes that you recommended from different seasons.
Yes.
So I didn't really know where the story was going in this season particularly, which was good for me. But talk to us about when did you first watch High School DXD? When did you have your experience with it?
I believe my first experience with High School DXD was the pandemic. Because it's been one of the shows. I think I got the DVD and Blu-ray combo in that great FYE purge I keep mentioning. And I just sat on it for a while. Maybe watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, but then just never got around to it. And of course, pandemic hit. So I'm like, and at that point, I actually had a device that can play Blu-rays. At that point, I was just watching the DVDs. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to plug it into my PS4 and just watch the whole thing in a day. And I did. And to say I was surprised was an understatement because... not because of like anything to do with quality, but just the directions the show chose to go with the narrative, and especially like the final little arc of it.
Yeah,
I was so genuinely and pleasantly surprised in a lot of ways. I'm like, oh, you're doing this now? You're doing this now? You're doing this?
Yeah.
I just didn't know where the show was going to be going a lot of the time, because that first episode, you expect a kind of a really horny, like kind of dark, gothic-y kind of deal, but we get something a lot of shonen elements thrown in there.
That was going to be one of my points to hammer home today, which was I didn't really know what I was expecting at first, but it definitely delivered something that I wasn't expecting.
Yes.
Which points for that, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't exactly, as you, I didn't exactly know where it was going at any given point.
Yes.
Because with these kind of shows, and by kinds of shows, I'm talking about like a harem kind of anime, I normally expect them to be very one note.
Yes.
And very like,
Well, a lot of them are.
like you walked in on this person naked. Oh, there's boobs everywhere. Oh, like you're just a boy. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And, I expected a lot of that. And there was a lot of that.
But it's funny because even when there was a lot of that, some of it was actually subversive, but in a great way. And I should tell you right now, the reason why it's so subversive is because our protagonist is unlike pretty much any other harem protagonist.
Yes.
Our boy Issei Hyodo, he is a full-fledged out-front pervert. A lot of other harem protagonists, were if they were pervs, they were reserved about it, they were shy or whatever.
Right.
And Issei definitely was a game changer. This whole thing was a game changer for the harem genre.
Right.
I feel like the show got a bad rap because it inspired a lot of trash. I mean, look at Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
Oh, God.
You remember that piece of shit?
Yeah, boy, do I.
I mean, look at the character designs. Look at all the angles they were pulling from.
It's the same shit. Yeah.
It's but significantly worse.
Yes.
So this show inspired a lot of garbage, which in my mind, that's like saying you hate Van Halen because they inspired a lot of bad glam bands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can't judge the progenitor of a genre because you don't like the genre, because you're taking away from the quality of the work itself.
And I think that's something that
I did just compare High School DXD to Van Halen.
Which is amazing. And I think a very specific market will enjoy that, me included.
Of course.
I think where the show kind of differed for me was mostly the plot elements were interesting because it was very kind of that like classic angels versus devils kind of mode.
Yes.
And basically Issei, our main protagonist, right, in the first episode, long story short, gets killed.
Yes.
By a girl that he is seeing.
Yes.
Who is an angel. Or a fallen angel.
Fallen angel, yes.
Who are what exactly? I don't really remember what the fallen angel was. It's an angel that God had denounced or something.
Basically,
that wants to get back into God's good graces, so they want to kill devils.
Yes, basically we have it's a 3-faction war going on.
Yes,
between angels, the fallen angels, and devils. Fallen angels are just they're portrayed as kind of like the evilest of the bunch in a lot of ways because the guys they have, everything they're doing is holy. At least that's how they're portrayed in this season. Where it's a lot of holier than thou type of stuff, where they're more aggressive with their denouncement of devils and other things they don't find holy. Where the traditional angels are more passive and they are more genuinely about peace. If you really want to give the show a lot of fucking credit, which you can give the show credit, but not I don't know about the light novels as much. You can give the show credit for like kind of denouncing religious extremism. If you wanted to make that stretch, which if you wanted to, that's the thing. Right. I think it's an accidental thing more than anything else.
Yeah, I think so.
They want to just, in my mind, they just wanted to have a nice, even 3-faction war.
Right. And in that realm, like the plot is a bit thin. There's always like a goal, right?
Yes.
There's always like something that they want to do. But essentially, right, our boy Issei starts dating this girl.
Yes.
She turns out to be a fallen angel that kills him because he has some sort of power within him.
Yes, what we learn later is called a sacred gear.
Yes.
So these are like powerful implants that some people are born with. And they can grant the user superhuman abilities. Right. So of course every faction wants them.
Yes.
And I think because they killed him, I don't even know if they intended. I don't know if the fallen angels even intended to take the sacred gear. I think they just wanted to kill him outright.
Yeah, I think they just wanted to off him completely. But then he was resurrected by the devils, notably riasgremory,
who is someone we're going to talk about a lot,
quite a bit. And she is kind of the first scene in the show because we see her, and Issei attends high school, right?
Yes.
High School DXD.
Yes.
He attends high school, and there's a lot of different like people at this high school. Him and his 2 pervy friends, who are my favorite characters in the show,
right?
Who are just all like, oh, let's check out the girls' locker room, and they do like peeping and stuff. I think it's hilarious.
It's a lot of great comedy from those 2.
And one of the parts of this school is an occult research club.
Yes.
Which is headed by riasgremory, which is It's a club that apparently researches the occult, and that would obviously fucking the occult research club. But either way, outside of talking myself, outside of talking myself in circles, Rias Gremory's at the head of it, and they're secretly devils. They're not really like doing club activities. Yeah. They're secretly doing devil deeds.
Yes, they're devil men, if you will.
Yes, devil men, devil women,
and devil man lady,
and they encompass a few members of the school.
Yes,
and so they are.
We have our
that.
president Rias. We have our vice president Akano.
Rob really likes Akano.
I really like Akano. Unfortunately, we don't get too many glimpses as to why I love her so much in this season.
Yes, the first season is pretty skimpy on Akano.
So, but don't worry, they correct.
Oh wow!
And then we have
Konako. Who? Oh, I love Konako. She's just funny. She's like the spunky, like short one.
But that's really always silly. The character you gravitate towards in these things.
I love the spunky short one because, everybody else is like, oh, I'm booby. I'm interesting. No, you're not. You're not interesting.
Yeah.
She's interesting. She's got personality.
Well, Konako's great because she is like a bit of like a subdued kind of Valley Girl delivery in the dub.
Yeah, a little bit.
She'll like deadpan go, Obvi.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this character?
And she's just so deadpan. She's like, D-bag.
Yeah, yes.
And suck it.
I love her because, and again, she gets more as the series goes on as well.
And then our fucking boy, Kiba.
See, I love what they do with Kiba because this is one of the subversive bits here. I don't know if they were just trying to be subversive or just played out this way. So in the first episode, they make it a point at this school, it's predominantly girls.
Right.
They just opened to being co-ed. Kiba is the cute boy on campus.
Yes.
Everyone fawns over him. He's a pretty boy with white, perfect hair. And there's a great scene where like Kiba's walking, it's sparkling around him because he's so angelic, even though he's a devil. But what happens is like a bunch of girls ask him out to karaoke and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I have a club activities, maybe some other time. I don't know. And I forget the exact verbiage, but Issei overhears him. It's like, God damn it, why does everyone love him so much? So what? He's hot, super sexy, kind, and caring. And just list all his characteristics of why he's so awesome. But then what happens immediately, like we said, Issei gets killed but resurrected by the devils.
Yes.
So he becomes a devil. What I really love here is him and Kiba's relationship immediately. Where Kiba's like, hey, I'm here to pick you up. We're going to the club. And he's like, oh, you're a devil too? And within no time, Issei's like, oh, he's a good dude.
Yeah.
Which is great because usually in the harem, you would think Issei would be like, oh, he's going after all the girls.
Right, he's a competitor, right?
Yes, yeah. But they don't even attempt anything remotely like that.
Yep.
They just have Issei establish he's a good dude, which I thought that was, oh, wow.
Was that thunder?
That was thunder.
Oh my God, I hope it picked it up because, geez, that was loud.
That was fucking loud.
Lord.
I think they know we're talking about Kiba.
Probably.
But any
the Empress of Lightning. Akano.
Fucking Akano. She's mad. She's mad we're not talking about her more. Don't worry.
That's right.
Don't worry, babe. We're talking about you soon.
Oh Lord.
But yeah, I love how they handle their relationship there. And that a lot of the show, for my enjoyment, comes from Issei's dynamic with every character. And it cuts back to Issei's character. Right. So in the first couple episodes, I'm going to turn to you a little bit because you just watched it.
Sure.
But they explain to Issei, like, yeah, you got this sacred gear thing, so you're kind of a badass. But we're going to have to train you to fight because we have a war going on. And Issei's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, there can now, like, there'll be stray devils running around or fallen angels wreaking havoc. And the devils are like, okay, we have to control the strays. And when the fallen angels start doing fucked up shit and try to kill people, we got to stop them too.
Right.
So again, a lot of anime do this. Really have like the classic challenge of like good versus evil, and who is good, who is truly evil. I mean, I love Devilman so much, so naturally this hit a chord with me right away. But this is the first time I recognized it. I'm like, oh, I love Devilman, so I'm gonna love parts of this.
Right.
But so they train him up a little bit. And then we learn about the kind of intricate system of like, again, going back to Hikaru, and we got the chess thing.
Yeah. Yep. There, a lot of chess imagery in this one because Rias Gremory is technically the king.
Yes.
And she has this idea, or like every like devil house has like this idea.
Yeah. So it's like, and then we meet more later in the series where like your house, you have your pieces. So it's a certain number of like people you can like recruit. and you give them powers based on like, what piece they are.
Exactly.
So in the first season, we get a couple of the pieces. We have Akino, who is the vice president of the club. She's the queen, so she has a lot of crazy powers. Kiba's a swordsman, so therefore he's the knight. Konako, even though she's the small, dainty one, she has superhuman strength.
Yeah.
We learn Issei. He's a pawn. However, he's so innately powerful because what they do is, in order to like balance out the power in these houses, if someone's too powerful, they'll take up more than one pawn piece.
Right.
Issei takes up all 8.
Which is insane.
So he's a super powerful dude.
Yes. Or he has the capability to do that.
Yeah, so it's a journey with him.
Yes. So that's definitely a journey. And Konako, by the way, is the rook.
Yes, I forgot to mention that.
And eventually they get a character, Asya, who stands in as the bishop eventually.
And it's crazy because she's also, she's actually a church girl.
A devout Catholic.
Yeah, she's a nun. She's a nun, basically.
Yes.
And she originally was supposed to do... She was actually almost excommunicated from her church because she healed the devil who was dying. She has healing abilities.
Right.
And, your healing abilities get emphasized as a bishop. That basically, the bishop's role in the party is to be the healer.
Exactly.
So then we meet Asya, who's a very big plot point early on. Issei bumps into her. And, she's the cute little blonde nun girl. And I love their dynamic between the two of them because, like, at first, Issei doesn't perv on her because he just wants to be her friend at first.
Yeah.
And I love this because, let me calm down because there's a few reasons why I really love this.
Continue.
A lot of harem protagonists, or a lot of harems in general, stuff before High School DXD and especially afterwards. Actually, that's an unfair statement. Just harems in general. The lazy justification as to why every girl fawns over him is because, he's such a swell guy. He's such a good guy.
Yeah, right.
Here's the thing. They portray Issei as a total perv.
Yep.
But in the first, they just go out of their way to prove he's a good guy.
They really do.
He is a good... He's
very good nature, very good intentions.
Yes.
May want to see you naked a lot.
Yes.
But
then again, who doesn't?
That's just, he's a 15-year-old boy, right?
Exactly.
Or 16, 17,
however old he is. They prove he's a good guy. And his dynamic with Asya really helps that shine, how much he genuinely cares for her.
Because it is very apparent how much he could take advantage of her if he wanted to.
But he doesn't.
Which
I really love.
Yes.
He actually goes out of his way to defend her because there's this crazed, gun-wielding... he's not... I think was he a fallen angel, like the villain? I
think he was a fallen angel,
He's a fallen angel, yeah. He got super crazed, like trying to kill devils and anyone unholy. Asya didn't know she was getting sent to like this church and being forced to work for him. And so Issei realized what's happening and tries to save her, which was great.
Yeah.
The whole dynamic, that was early on in the series. That's I remember I think that might have been episode 3. And we got to that point with our friends one time and everyone was like, oh God, the violent.
Yeah. It does get violent.
It gets very violent. And but we never lose a lot of the comedy.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the biggest, if not the biggest pro about this show is the comedy, because I have so many notes on this show.
Okay.
And the notes on this show are primarily comedic fashion.
Okay.
Because I thought the comedy this may have been one of the funniest animes I've ever watched.
That's a fair point.
I think it was very funny. The dialogue was great because it did have that element, which, I'm like kind of like meh on. It's just like, man, here's a lot of boobs all the time. Haha, yeah. And like every episode, Rhea steps out of the shower nude. I'm like, how many times does she have to wash herself? Yeah. Jesus. Full nip, like bare naked and stuff. And like that was fine and good. And like that's good for like if you're really horny watching this anime, happy for you. Kudos to you.
Good job.
Obviously, like it doesn't do nothing to me, but it's still at the same time like, okay, like I get it, right?
A little lame,
boobs, whatever, naked. I understand.
I know how girls work.
Exactly. Humble brag. But there is.
I wasn't expecting that. That was funny. All right, I should get back to the microphone.
But
check.
So Rias takes a lot of showers throughout the show. There are a lot of her boobs.
Is that one of your actual notes?
It is one of my notes. How many showers does Rias take in episode 2? It's literally 5.
Oh my God.
So this. Okay. This also, there's a lot of villains that take on like these characteristics as well. In episode 3, there was a villain that shoots cannons out of her boobs.
Yes.
Which is, this is just a porno that I would never want to be in. There are a lot of elements like that are like the more sexual elements.
Yeah.
But at the core of it, there are some hilarious moments throughout this show. And a lot of ways that I think Issei, as a character, is able to kind of curb those like sexy moments and just be like, oh, like this is just funny.
Yeah.
Like there, for example, there's a fitness episode.
Oh, yeah.
Where they try to train Issei to how to use his sacred gear, and he's training with each of the members. And Rias is notably sitting on a bicycle seat, and like they're all riding bikes, and Issei every time like has a quip for something.
Yeah.
Like at that point, he's like, I wish that bicycle seat was my face. During the training episode, he says many times, I'm going to puke out my ball sack. He calls Boobs many things from oogly googlies, titty hammock, big gazongas. Titty hammock is my favorite one by distance. Is
that the term for bra?
Yeah, bra.
Titty
but like
hammock,
bra and boobs, like he just has terms out the wazoo for those kind of things.
Titty hammock. That's right.
And there are just genuinely funny moments also that are non-sexual. Like Asya at one point in training, she's like running and they're telling her like, oh, Asya, you got to do this, you got to do that. She's like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm not very good at running and talking at the same time. She's like, this is just funny. Like there's so many moments. Like this is one of the first shows where like I haven't really gave a shit about the plot because that's not like at all the point. The point is the humor. And of course, like we're going to strike on like the big plot points very soon. But at the same time, while I was watching this, I just like didn't really care. I was just
which is rare
whatever.
for you. You're usually so plot driven in everything you watch.
I'm a big plot guy, but I thought like I really just threw all that out the window for this one because it was just very like
you're having fun
because it's in the moment. You're not thinking about all right, what's going to happen next. You're not thinking about like, oh, here's this looming problem. It's all about like, hey, we're going to a training facility to get Issei to train. Also, we're not going to have clothes, and it's just like very silly.
Yes,
it's very very silly. There is also one portion in the show which I have to bring up since we're in that mode.
Yes.
Which was like it was funny, but it was on the edge of like, okay, this is porn. Yeah. They go to this realm at one point to find a familiar.
Yes.
For Issei and for Asya. Because a familiar is like this, what they explain, every member of the household has a familiar. Every devil has one, which is kind of like this little creature. It's basically like your Pokemon.
And like, vampire familiars, that's what they get the idea from. But yeah, it's basically a Pokemon.
Exactly. It's like a little creature that you hang around with and like it helps you do
They want to
stuff.
sell plushies.
Exactly, plushies.
Yes.
And so they go to this abandoned like area, forest, and there's this one guy who helps them find familiars, who is basically geriatric Ash Ketchum. Yeah. Which is incredible. And he's like, you just got to catch these little familiars. And he takes them around getting familiars. And at one point, this rain happens. It starts raining like green slime.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of familiar, which is like this like oozy, like green, like it's basically a parasite. And like it's very common in the familiar world. Yeah. And its main objective is to dissolve clothing. Yep. So it comes down and everybody, all of like, of course it doesn't land on Issei. It doesn't land on Kiba. Yeah. It lands on all the women. And it's like completely disintegrating their clothing. And the entire scene, they're like, oh no, it's green slime, my clothes. And then they're like, oh, I'm so slimy and wet. And I was just like, guys, come on. And then, but the good juxtaposition to that is when it flips to Issei, and Issei's like, I want that as my familiar. So it does a good job of being like,
it balances all like that horny rah-rah stuff with some tremendous comedy,
with some good like comedy. And I think it needs that. And if you have to do a show that does that, I'm glad that it was able to kind of counteract it with some decent comedy that cuts through.
Yes, and that's the thing. Again, I always go on about when an anime can really hit the comedy well. Mm-hmm. And that's a good point. High School DXD is up there with some of the best dub work, especially I've ever heard. It's just you made this a great point where there were so many synonyms for breasts. As I mentioned earlier, there's just a ton, I think. But also it was great when just Issei just chose the most basic terms when a character would show up with her bust out and he would just go titties. And they interspliced them so well.
It was so funny because
Fun bags.
Fun bags,
was
yeah.
one of my favorites. Just hear Issei say fun bags over and over. Tatas. Jubblies was a great one.
Jubblies. Oh my lord.
Oh, memories.
There are just so many. Because no matter how serious it got, like every time there came like a new devil or like a new fallen angel, it would always cut to Issei being like, wow, super hot.
Yeah.
All right, now I got to fight her.
Exactly.
Like,
oh God, look at those titties.
yes. And you know, throughout the show, like we get them training, we get them preparing for like basically the big climax of the series is this like
Yes.
huge like team on team devil versus devil battle.
Yes, we learned it's what they call a rating game.
A rating game. Yes.
It's Rias's house versus someone she was apparently betrothed to, like an arranged marriage type of ordeal.
Yes. Phoenix.
Phoenix Riser.
Phoenix Riser. Phoenix.
Riser Phoenix, yep.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you.
Of the Phoenix household.
You're nailing the point home, and I love it, Sailor.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, Sailor. But so they have a rating game because Rias is like, ew, I'm not going to marry you. And Issei is like, fuck yeah, you're not.
Yeah. Because Issei, like, throughout the show, you're kind of, like, given this dichotomy of, like, oh, does Issei want to be with Asya or does he want to be with Rias?
Yeah.
And then throughout the whole thing, you have Rias, who's, like, this older, like, almost like big sister figure.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, do I want to fug him?
Yes, exactly.
It's like weird. And Asya being like, do I also want to fug him?
And they both realize very quickly, yes, I do.
They both do.
At one point, Asya actually moves in with Issei.
Yes.
Oh, at one point I had to bring up in episode 2 was when Issei just wakes up and Rios is next to him naked. He loses his mind. And then Issei's mom opens the door. Is like, sorry for intruding. And then she freaks out like, what the fuck is going on? And the dad's like, huh? There's a girl upstairs. Well, by golly, I'm happy for my boy.
The parents are such a funny like addition to this because every once in a while they chime in with like a scene at like with Issei at his parents' home, and his parents are both like, well, Issei, you're such a damn pervert. You can never get a girlfriend. It's like, and they're like, you don't understand. And like Asya moves in,
Yes.
and they're like, oh my god, like yeah, sure, we can have you in, but like be very careful. And she's like, oh, why do you not want me to move in? They're like, well, our son's a big pervert, so we don't want you around him.
Yes,
you know,
they're so quick to warn Asya.
so funny. And then Issei, I think, has like some dream at some point where he marries Rias.
Yep.
And his parents are in the audience, and they're just both like, I just can't believe our son's doing this. This is incredible. Like, wow, we never thought he'd get this far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot of like things like that with the parents. And also on this thing, right? Like Rias is supposed to marry this Riser Phoenix guy or is betrothed to him. It's not fully explained. Maybe it'll be explained a little later, but it's like their houses want to like merge.
Yes, exactly.
And Rias's older brother is Lucifer.
Yes. It's a big political thing.
Who is like the head of obviously devils.
Yep.
And wants to merge these families together. So Rias has to marry this guy, and she doesn't want to, and Issei doesn't want her to either. So they challenge the Phoenix team
to a ratings game.
to a rating game.
And I love the cool part here is because they have the rating game is a couple episodes long.
Right.
Where the part I didn't expect is they actually lose.
Yeah, they do lose.
Yeah, they lose
which
the
is
game.
crazy because you think, they get you in that shonen mindset of like, all right, work hard enough, believe in yourself enough, rip enough girls' clothes off, where you can win. And that's one of Issei's abilities that he learns he has is to
rip clothes off.
Rip clothes off of the fellow women devils that he's fighting.
And it gets them all like shy and nervous. And the entire team is like, Rias' house is all like, I mean, it works. But we're not thrilled about this.
We don't love this.
So
but
that in and of itself was wonderful.
Yeah, that was good.
But I just loved how they lost. And the way that I remember it was like Phoenix was about to kill Issei.
Mm-hmm.
And Rias forfeited the game.
Yes.
Because she didn't want Issei to die.
Yes.
And she's like, no, it's fine. I'll do what's best for, she's like, it'll be good for the family or whatnot. But then episode 12 happens, and I believe, if I remember correctly, Issei kind of challenges Phoenix, like, I got you, motherfucker.
Yeah.
He takes all the power he learned. It's kind of the shonen thing there, where it's like, I got all my power, bitch.
And he's kind of got like an interesting like Naruto thing with like him and this like red dragon spirit.
Yes.
Because this red dragon spirit gives him is the reason he has this sacred gear, and it's been inside him all along, right? And he has to have a conversation with this red dragon spirit.
See, I wasn't sure if that happened this season or not, so I'm glad it did. And I love the character, the Red Dragon becomes a big fixture later in the show, and it's just the Red Dragon's so not thrilled that Issei is the one that has him.
It's very funny.
And it's great.
It's pretty funny.
So, Issei basically risks his life to challenge Phoenix and just to save Rias from this marriage.
Yeah.
And I bet and then Lucifer was like, I'll allow it.
Yeah, Lucifer was like, this sounds fun,
This
guys.
sounds fun. Hey, if you get beat up by this kid, I'm not going to let you marry my
Hell,
sister.
I'm Lucifer. I ain't no god.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun,
And then
guys.
at the same time, Lucifer was already, when he realized how upset Rias was, he was like, maybe we shouldn't go through with this. He's just a very reasonable guy.
Which is hilarious that the devil is the most
that
reasonable
Lucifer
person in the anime.
is reasonable.
Oh my god. And so, right, you have this battle, and Issei makes a deal with the Red Dragon that's like, all right, like, I'll give you my left arm,
Yes,
or something like that for you to possess. And the Red Dragon's like, cool, and then I'll give you my full power for like 10 seconds because your body can't handle more than that.
Yes.
And basically, Issei has to use these 10 seconds to whip Riser Phoenix in the buttocks.
Yeah.
And Riser Phoenix has this ability that allows him to regenerate very quickly, as the ashes of a phoenix rise again.
Yeah.
Riser Phoenix, obviously. So then he has the ability.
Subtlety's great.
Right. So he has the ability to regenerate. So it's very hard to beat him and his friends. But Issei eventually, of course, beats him. Right. Gets the second chance, comes back, beats him, and wins Rias, technically.
Kinda, yeah.
Because
he wins Rias's freedom. He didn't exactly say she's mine now. It's more of like, I want her freedom.
she's free to do what she wants, right? Which is bang me. So,
Which is just ride my honky donkey.
So he beats Riser, rescues Rias. The end of the show, the end of the first season, very wholesome.
Yep.
They're on like some sort of griffin traveling back to the Gremory house.
Yeah.
And Rias is like, I'ma kiss you.
Smoochies.
And she smooches him full on. And
what a more wholesome ending than we expected, given
very wholesome.
the all the stuff that preceded it.
And let me talk to you real quick about something that did precede it was a big highlight, I guess, let's say, of the show. A big highlight was the title screens in the show.
Oh yeah.
Like whenever they do like the
commercial break,
a little like title card.
The first one they had clothes on, and the second one they had either significantly less or they were just naked.
So every member of this household is drawn in so many different ways.
Yes.
And the craziest ones are like, all right, here's the first title screen. All right, like she's got some boobage out. And the second one is her completely bent over, just like with her ass against the screen, just being like, bone me daddy. And I'm just like, my God, this show. Because they do have that humor.
Yes.
They do have that humor. But at the same time, I'm like, man, there's a lot of just like
people are spanking
straight up trash in here of just here's just up front, give it to you, like horny, basically porn.
And here's the thing. That's what ruins, like whenever I hear people say trash anime, for me, High School DXD kind of changed the game in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to trash, for me, a show like Infinite Stratus is complete trash because they don't go that far.
They don't.
So therefore, it's trash to me.
Right.
Basically, High School DXD changed the landscape of so many things for so many modern anime, including trash anime. So if you're basically what High School DXD said, if you're going to be trashy, be trashy. So now DXD has completely altered my scale of trash anime.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it inspired a lot of trash because it is trashy at points. It's a thing. I love how they interweave all the trash with a genuinely engaging set cast of characters and narrative.
Yes.
So the thing is with trash, if it's trash, it still has to be good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of this show as kind of a parody in a way.
Oh yes,
of a lot of different things, a lot of different genres.
It's a parody in a way, but it's the way the parody works. It just goes to the extreme, which I love.
It does. It's like its own thing, but then it also has all these other elements. Like obviously, like the working very hard to overcome your shortcomings. Is like a huge shonen thing.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And that's in here, but it's definitely not the main focus.
No.
And it's just like kind of what the series has to end on. At least the first season has to end on because like Issei, like goes from being like an incompetent devil to like making house calls as a devil to like riding a bike everywhere to then going through portals and just like having this magic and being able to like do all this crazy shit.
Yep.
So it's just like, that's just what happens in this show. And it was a good progression in that, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the other characters didn't exactly change that much throughout the show. Thought Issei was probably the one pinpoint, maybe Asya I can make an argument for. I feel like everybody else kind of remained the same a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say, spoilers. Season 2 does build on these characters.
Interesting.
Everyone does get their time in the sun. So, and which is good because I'm glad they didn't try to cram too much of the light novels in season 1 because then you would have had a Spirit Chronicles situation where they crammed way too much in there, so nothing got fleshed out.
Jesus Christ.
This show is taking its time, which I really enjoyed.
They took their time. The first season, as we said at the very beginning of this episode, the first season went in a couple directions that I just did not think it was going to go in. Which is a good thing.
Which is good because I think this episode went in various different directions we didn't intend.
It did, I feel like.
So, is it time to ask a question?
I guess, should we ask the question? Yes. Rob, was this anime bad?
No.
No.
The show's not bad. I understand if you have a preconceived notion of the show for the first couple episodes, I get it. It's an interesting one. But it's one I always recommend because of the trash factor, because it's fun. But there is a good show in here. The trash is there. The trash is almost like the side dish to a surprisingly meal with a lot of substance.
Right.
There's a better word for that, but I'm blanking.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So, but no, it's a good show. It's shockingly good. And, and the trash elements are not even among the reasons I recommend it. We have a cast that gets continuously engaging and really the humor. It's just the show is funny. It knows what it is. In a way, it's kind of a parody. I never really thought about it in the context before, but now that I'm thinking like it, you definitely have a point. So there's a lot of parody in it. And it's, but it's just well constructed.
Yeah. I think the main part of the humor that struck me the most is just kind of Issei's ability to just kind of say things outright and just be direct about things.
Yes.
And it's funny because you think of when you think of anime a lot of this time, a lot like this one, you think of like kind of the subtleties and like, oh, does he actually want this? Does he actually want that? But then there are times when Issei just comes out and says, oh, fuck this guy.
Yeah, no, that's what I love.
It's just very like simple.
That's
and
the
like
thing.
direct.
That's the thing. The storytelling here is very interesting where, like you said, they'll allude to like how a character feels, but they won't often come out and say it for whatever reason. Maybe be pride or whatnot. Issei will be like, no, fuck that guy. Here's why.
Yeah.
Which is a totally different form of writing.
Yep. He's like, I hate that guy. I love your boobs. But yes.
We get a lot of that too.
Yeah.
So Bouncy, for you, was it bad?
I'm gonna go with no.
There you go.
It's not bad. I think there would have to be a lot of more things going horribly for me to consider it bad.
Right.
I think what the thing is about this show is what you said, the humor is just too good.
Yes.
For the show to be considered bad. I think it's just too fucking funny.
Yes.
It's hilarious. And again, you said it perfectly. It knows what it is. It does it well.
Yes.
It is itself to its core.
Yes.
And I can appreciate that about it. Where it kind of goes away for me is I got used to like all of like the harem like kind of just girls,
Yes,
boobies kind of stuff going on. I got used to all of that, and I just generally was like, okay, yeah, whatever. It's just like more of that shit. Like we get it, right? But Issei's humor, as I said before, is the thing that really curbed it for me. Issei and Konako, I think.
Yes.
Konako's humor is extra good too because it like cuts through things very funnily, and it's very like outright.
Right.
So I think. It can't be bad. It just can't be because it's just so funny and it's very entertaining to watch.
Yes.
And something for me, once again, like reiterating, the plot did not matter at all to me. It like did not matter. This is the first time I watched an anime where I was not concerned about any plot elements whatsoever.
And you still enjoyed yourself.
And I still enjoyed myself.
That's a big thing there.
I saw every episode as kind of a new set of jokes.
Yes.
And a new set of like comedy material.
That's the thing. It's
right.
And that's, I think, where the show exceeds is in the comedy.
Yep.
So here's another fun question.
Ooh.
Want to do season 2?
Well, I think I'm down.
There we go.
I think
There
I'm
we
down.
go.
I think I'm down to do season 2 and like come back and talk about it because
Yeah, we'll start from season 2,
You
and
know?
then we'll see how we feel as going
we'll see how we
forward.
feel because the first season I can say wasn't bad, but let's see what happens because I'm kind of curious. You've alluded to this show kind of diving more into the characters
Yes.
and kind of taking more time, but I guess. Will it at any point get worse? Will it at any point kind of rest on its laurels a little bit or kind of dive less into the humor? Or will I get too used to it, whether it's not doing anything new for me?
Right.
I guess that remains to be seen.
You're gonna lose your mind when I tell you that season 2 just gives a lot of time to Kiba.
Kiba?
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Well, anyway, I think that's a great optimistic note to end it on.
I think so too. Thanks everybody for listening. This was us talking about the first season of High School DXD.
And it sounds like we're coming back at least for season 2.
Probably. We'll get back to it when we get to it. But thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
It's bad.
Wow, oh my god, what a rousing podcast of anime conversation. Am I right, my compares? Am I right, my weebdom? Anywho, yeah, you can send us a message if you want. Did you like this podcast? Did you hate this podcast? Do you want to kill me? Do you want to drench me in Calaxosaur blood and watch me drink it? That's fine. Just send us an email at badanimepod@gmail.com or DM us on our Instagram at badanimepod, all one word. You can also find us on YouTube as Bad Anime, and you could leave a comment on whatever video you want to leave a comment on. We'll read them all anyways. We don't care. I love you. Kiss, kiss.
In your ear. Podcast Network.